so much, but it's the importance of collecting information. So this part is, I call pilot as a strategy. There's no question whatsoever that we could not have done what we did back then if I hadn't had my airplanes. I bought that first plane for business, to travel between the stores and keep in touch with what was going on. But once we started really rolling out the stores, the airplane turned out to be a great tool for scouting real estate. We were probably 10 years ahead of most other retailers in scouting locations from the air, and we just got a lot of great ones that way.
Hey, Foxy.
From up in the air, we could check out traffic flows, see which way cities and towns were growing, and evaluate the location of the competition, if there was any. Then we would develop our real estate strategy for that market. I loved doing it myself. I'd get down low, turn my plane on its side, and fly right over a town. Once we had a spot picked out, and try to negotiate the deal right then. That's another good reason I don't like jets.
We're gonna do 50
you can't
per
get down low enough
set.
to really tell what's going on, the way I could with my little planes. Bud and I, that's his brother and his partner, Bud and I picked almost all of our sites that way until we grew to about 120 or 130 stores. I was always proud of our technique and the results we got. I guarantee you not many principals of retailing companies were flying around sideways, studying development patterns, but it worked really well for us. So skipping ahead a little bit, I know a lot of people like to ask, like, this,
Also
how
listening to a
really
podcast
successful
at the same
business
time.
owners, entrepreneurs, like, find the time to do everything. So I want to include this part about Sam not having a schedule. But if you ask me, am I an organized person? I would have to say flat out no, not at all. Being organized would only really slow me down. In fact, it would probably render me helpless. I try to keep track of what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to be, but it's true, I don't keep much of a schedule. Elliot, my two secretaries, around the bend. My style is pretty haphazard. So this is his, now we're gonna get some direct quotes from his personal secretary of 25 years. He has always been like this. His mind works 10 times faster than anybody else's. I mean, he just gets going and stays 2 or 3 jumps ahead, and he's quick to go with whatever's on his mind. If he gets something in his mind and that needs to be done, regardless of what else might have been planned, the new idea takes priority, and it has to be done now. Everybody has their day scheduled, and then bang, he just calls a meeting on something else. In the early years, this caused a number of embarrassments. I would make appointments for him and then tell him about them.
Hey,
we
what's
kept
up?
2 calendars,
Doing
one on
500
his
push-ups.
desk and one on mine.
Right now
But he
we're
would
at
just totally forget.
70.
I've had people fly in here from Dallas all set to see him. I'd come in at 8 a.m. to meet them and find out he had flown out of town at 5 a.m. without telling anybody where he was going. I would just have to look at this man from Dallas and say, he's gone.
80.
So after a few times like that, I finally said, I'm not going to make appointments for you anymore. And he said, well, that's probably best. Then he would make his own appointments and forget about them, and I was still the one who had to give them the bad news. I couldn't organize him in a quarter of a century, and I don't think anyone else is ever going to. This is back to Sam. Except for reading my numbers on Saturday morning and going to our regular meetings, I don't have much of a routine for anything else.
It's fun to push.
I always carry my little tape recorder on trips to record ideas that come up in my conversations with the associates. The associates is what they call the employees working in the store. I usually have my yellow legal pad with me with a list of 10 or 15 things we need to be working on as a company. My lists drive the executives around here crazy, but it's probably one of the most of my more important
Thank you. Let's go.
So not everything Sam did was obviously correct, but he was quick to make to admit his mistakes and change. So here's a paragraph from a gentleman that's working for him named Charlie Baum. These are direct quotes from him. When I took over the store in Fayetteville, which would have been May of 1955, Sam was paying the girls 50 cents an hour. After the first paychecks went out, I thought about it and decided this is for the birds. So the next week, I raised them to 75 cents an hour, and I got a telephone call from Sam.
At 100.
He said, Charlie, we don't give raises of a quarter an hour. We give them a nickel an hour. But I didn't cut back. I stayed with the 75 cents because those girls were earning it. We were a high volume store for those days, making pretty good money. And now here's Sam talking about the same situation. I don't remember being that tight, but I guess Charlie's got it about right. We didn't pay much.
Thanks
it wasn't
so much.
that I was intentionally heartless. I wanted everybody to...
Yeah, I'm listening to a podcast, Nicole. It's the Founders Podcast. Absolutely excellent podcast. This guy reads biographies and autobiographies of the world's best founders and leaders and then summarizes them in a podcast, and I love that. I grew up reading autobiographies, biographies, and I'm a sponge when it comes to learning about what worked well, and I'm a person of patterns and themes, so I pick up on what others have done and apply it to my life. Listening to this, I'm on episode 6. He has like 300. I'm gonna listen to every single one of them, and it also is gonna add, thank you, and it also is gonna add inspiration to something I'm going to do in this channel, because I really want to evolve my focus into highlighting characters, meaning people, and developing my character. So I want to study characters, develop my character, and then help others become the character they desire to be, because life's like a video game. We can all become what we want. And so more to come on that, but yeah, I'm listening to that podcast. And Hungarian Star, appreciate you. You're awesome too. You're awesome. You guys are giving me some good rest time here. But we got 400 push-ups left. So let's get back to it. I'm gonna play this podcast. Join me. We got 15 of y'all in here. Appreciate you so much.
do well for themselves.
Ask any questions.
It's just that in my very
Any
early
questions
days
you
in
have?
the business, I was so doggone competitive and so determined to do well that I was blinded to the most basic truth. Really, the principle that later became the foundation of Walmart's success. You see, no matter how you slice it in the retail business, payroll is one of the most important parts of overhead. And overhead is one of the most crucial things you have to fight to maintain your profit margin. That was true then, and it's still true today. Back then, though, I was so obsessed with turning in a profit margin of 6% or higher that I ignored some of the basic needs of our people, and I feel bad about it. The larger truth that I failed to see turned out to be another one of those paradoxes, like the discounter's principle of the less you charge, the more you'll earn. And here it is. The more you share
25.
profits with
Thank
your
you, Hungarian
associates,
Star. Appreciate you.
whether it's in salaries,
We're at
or
125,
incentives,
y'all.
or
125.
bonuses, or stock discounts, the
Appreciate
more
you so
profit
much.
will accrue to the company. Why? Because the way management treats the associates is exactly how the associates will then treat the customers. And if the associates treat the customers well, the customers will return again and again. And that is where the real profit in this business lies.
That's key.
Not in trying to drag strangers into your store.
Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate that. Seriously. That means a lot. You know, a lot of people build in public. They build their companies in public, meaning they build them online and show how they're doing it. I realized, like, I'm my greatest experiment. You know, I want to show how I'm building myself. Because that's what we're all doing. We're building ourselves. So thank you for all the support when I live streamed the 100 Mile Run. And yeah, God is good. He provided me with all I need. My parents taught me well, and I've been through a lot in life that have formed such things. So just got to keep it going. But yeah, right? Happy employees means productive associates. That's right. Treat your people well, and they'll treat the people that buy your stuff well.
For one-time purchases based on splashy sales or expensive advertising. Satisfied, loyal, repeat customers are at the heart of Walmart's spectacular profit margins. And those customers are loyal to us because our associates treat them better than salespeople in other stores do. So in the whole Walmart scheme of things, the most important contact ever made is between the associate in the store and the customer.
By the way, Sam Walton
So
created
skipping ahead a little
Walmart.
bit in the book. This
Created
is
Walmart.
still in,
It's a good guy to
in
learn
a
from.
chapter called Building the Partnership, and they're talking about building the partnership between management and their associates. And this was surprising. If you've ever spent any time around Walmart, you may have noticed that it's not unusual for somebody in Philadelphia, Mississippi, to get in his Philadelphia or Mississippi, to get in his pickup on the spur of the moment and drive to Bentonville, where you can find him sitting in the lobby waiting patiently to see the chairman. That's Sam. Now, really, how many chairmen of $50 billion companies do you know who are totally 100% accessible to
150.
their hourly associates?
Let's go.
I know lots of people in big
150.
companies who have never even seen their chairman, much less visited with him. So that just shocked me. At this time, anybody that worked for Walmart.
I love that. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Strava came in handy for people to track. But you guys gave needed support. Much needed support. Oh, we got a race against the clock here. I got 20%. And I got 350 push-ups left. We'll get it. Easy. Easy. Okay. Yeah, if this motivates you, guys, do a couple push-ups. That's all that matters. Even if you just get in 1 or 2. At least you did it. And if you've never done any before, that's more than you've ever done. Hungarian Star. I will say this channel, if you go to my page, you'll see how I categorized it, especially in my About section when you click on what this page is about. I'm focused on the spiritual, the mental, the physical aspects of life, and then that translates into how I perform in business. And so those are the 4 main categories to focus on, and then everything else is just me studying people, studying different characters through time, to take tools they have into my life, but then also showing you how I'm building my character. But it's those 4 aspects. We all have those 4 aspects in our life. It's physical, mental, spiritual, and the businesses we focus on, or the projects we focus on, or the activities we envelope ourselves in. That takes up our time. Okay. Let's get it.
Walmart, and they had thousands of employees, could drive to headquarters and request a meeting with Sam, and he'd take the meeting. This is what Sam says about that, by the way. That's not to suggest that they always like what I have to say. I don't always solve their problems, and I can't always side with them just because they bring their situation to my attention. But if the associate happened to be right, it's important to overrule their manager or whoever they're having the problem with, because otherwise, the open door policy isn't any good to anybody. The associates would know pretty soon that it was just something we paid lip service to, but didn't really believe in. If I'm gonna fly all around the country telling these folks they're my partners, I sure owe it to them to at least hear them out when they're upset about something.
175.
This is fantastic. So I'm going to skip ahead in the book again. There is a section here.
You guys are rocking with me.
What a deal.
I'll pause that for a sec. You guys are rocking with me. Thank you so much. This shirt, I might just tattoo it to my body. Training. Victory. Dedication, discipline. Talk about words that I love. And then it says everything is earned. This is definitely a Navy shirt of some sort, or like a Marine Army shirt of some sort. All right, y'all, we're back. Let's go.
Deals with when he's in his 50s, Walmart's already public, it's massively successful. He's like, okay, well, maybe it's time for me to step back. He was always somebody that delegated from day one. And there's 1 or 2 chapters in the book that deal with, basically, he retired too early. He misjudged his own personality, and Walmart winds up losing like a third of their executives. It's called like the Saturday Night Massacre. But I'm going to skip over that part because it has to do, there's just a lot of names in there that could get a little confusing if you're not reading it and you're just hearing it. And a lot of it is not centered around Sam. So he has this interesting strategy, and it's called competition as strategy. And here's his strategy. We decided that instead of avoiding our competition or waiting for them to come to us, we would meet them head on. It was one of the smartest strategic decisions we'd ever made. In fact, if our story doesn't prove anything else about the free market system, it erases any doubt that spirited competition is good for business, not just customers, but the companies which have to compete with one another too.
190.
Our competitors have honed and sharpened us to an edge we wouldn't have without them. We wouldn't be nearly as good as we...
Nicole, good question. Let's see. He's reading in David Senra, which I know him personally, actually. I went to some of his in-person events, which are very closed off to founders and entrepreneurs. He's a great guy, this person. He is so obsessively focused on his craft of podcasting and highlighting founders. It's truly amazing. But the book he's reading about Sam Walton is Sam Walton Made in America by Sam Walton. So it's autobiography.
We are today without Kmart, and I think they would admit we've made them a better retailer. One reason Sears fell so far off the pace is that they wouldn't admit for the longest time that Walmart and Kmart were their real competition. They ignored both of us, and we both blew right past them. This is his brother commenting on that. Competition is very definitely what made Walmart
200.
from the very beginning.
Let's go.
There's not an individual in these whole United States who...
Thank you, Nicole. Man, I appreciate you. And thank you, Hungarian Star. Dang. Well, let's say you guys are the first of many that will be here, because I agree with you. I agree with you. Not because I'm just saying it for myself, like because I'm doing this. I'm saying it because people need to move. People need to be inspired. Like, video games are great to an extent, but, you know, we live in a video game. We could develop our character. We could become characters, right? So this engagement, this conversation, I'm literally in the grass getting sun as I do push-ups and learn. You know, what better things than that? You know, I'll give you a little insight on my life too. I know I said before in the beginning of the live stream, I grew up and I was reading autobiographies and biographies. I am literally entrenched in that stuff. And again, with this YouTube channel, more will come. But you'll see that I've taken notes on self-improvement since I was like 12. I have the notebooks to this day. Like, I'm just obsessed with this thing of improvement. My whole thing is, like, everyone cherishes one thing in life. Some it's money, some it's relationship fulfillment. My thing is growth. Like, I love growing. I feel like if I'm not growing, similar to nature, there's a stagnation that happens, and by that point, you're not growing, you're not going up. I think you're either going down or there's no such thing as stagnation. So if you're stagnating, you're going down. Because when you're stagnating, you're staying still, you're not growing. So I'm looking at these plants right next to me. Like, if they were to keel over and die, they have no real purpose besides hopefully some of their seed goes into the ground and another plant can prop up, but their purpose is to grow. It is to grow.
who has been in more
All
retail
right, 300
stores,
push-ups left.
all types of retail stores too, not just discount stores, than Sam Walton. Make that all over the world. He's been in stores in Australia and South America, Europe and Asia and South Africa. His mind is just so inquisitive when it comes to this business. And there may not be anything he enjoys more than going into a competitor's store, trying to learn something from it. And this is another anecdote about his personality. This one's a direct quote from Herb Fisher, who's the founder, chairman, and CEO of James Way Corporation. These are his words. Kmart was opening up so many stores, it was regarded as the Genghis Khan of the discounting business. Sam has always been clear about his attitude. Meet them head on. Competition will make us a better company. He is that way with everyone. Personally, he's such a fine, unassuming, quiet gentleman. But he's always picking your brain, and he'll always have a notebook or tape recorder. He'll learn everything you know, but he shares his information freely with you in return. Now, of course, he's a competitor of James Way, but he would never apologize for that. He thinks it makes us a better company, and he's right. Okay, so now skipping ahead a little bit in the book, he has this idea about thinking small. So you have to think small to get big. And he has interesting ideas on how you resist bureaucracy
225
by doing it right the first time. So I want to read this part. This is now David Glass. These are going to be direct quotes from David Glass on Sam's philosophies. If you don't zero in on your bureaucracy...
Amen, Nicole. Amen. That's right. What we surround ourselves with matters. And I appreciate that I can surround myself with you guys.
Bureaucracy every so often, you will naturally build in layers. You never set out to add bureaucracy. You just get it, period, without even knowing it. So you always have to be looking to eliminate it. You know, when Tom Watson Sr. was running IBM, he decided they would never have more than 4 layers from the chairman of the board to the lowest level in the company. That may have been one of the greatest single reasons why IBM was successful. A lot of this goes back to what Deming told the Japanese a long time ago. Do it right the first time. The natural tendency when you've got a problem in a company is to come up with a solution to fix it. Too often, that solution is nothing more than adding another layer. What you should be doing is going to the source of the problem to fix it. And sometimes that requires shooting the culprit.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example that just drove Sam crazy until we started doing something about it. When merchandise came into the back of a store, it was supposed to be marked at the right price or marked correctly on the spot. But because it often wasn't getting done properly, we created positions called test scanners. People who would go around the stores with handheld scanners, making sure everything is priced correctly. There's another layer right there, and Sam didn't ever visit a store without asking if we really needed these folks. Well, we still have some, but what we've done is overhaul our back office procedure to make sure we get it right more often than the first time. And in the process, we eliminated 1.5 people out of the office in every Walmart store in the company. That's big bucks. They have hundreds of stores at this time. Really, it's a pretty simple philosophy. What you have to do is just draw a line in the dirt and force the bureaucracy back behind that line. And then know for sure that a year will go by and it will be back across that line. And you'll have to do the same thing again. Now here's Sam's words on this. I guess one reason I feel so strongly about not letting egos get out of control around Walmart is that a lot of bureaucracy is really the product of some empire builder's ego. Some folks have a tendency to build up big staffs around them to emphasize their own importance. And we don't need any of that at Walmart. If you're not serving the customer or supporting the folks who do, we don't need you. When we're thinking small, that's another thing we're always on the lookout for. Big egos. You don't have to have a small ego to work here, but you'd better know how to make it look small, or you might wind up in trouble. So you see what I mean when I say you have to think small to grow big. And really, I don't have any doubt that Walmart will stay the course and reach $100 billion in sales by the year 2000. It's a challenge. Nothing like it has ever been done before, but our folks will do it. And now I'm going to confess to a really radical thought I've been having lately. I probably won't do anything about it, but the folks who come after me are eventually going to have to face up to this question. Even by thinking small, can a $100 billion retailer really function as efficiently as it should? Or would maybe 5 $20 billion corporations work better? That's the end of this quote.
Birdhouses are great.
I actually have a personal theory on this.
So
I
tranquil.
think, given that we're in the information age, that the optimal size of a company is actually decreasing instead of increasing. So if you read the book, he has an entire, we're almost towards the end, but he has a chapter, it's chapter 17, and it's called Running a Successful Company, 10 Rules That Worked for Me. There's no way for me to highlight that. I'd have to read the whole chapter. So I just think there's 10 rules. A lot of them are just common sense, like his philosophies. But I don't think it's possible to summarize them. Before I get towards the end where he talks about building a legacy, and I think one of the most interesting parts of the book is him reflecting on his life. Now keep in mind, he's at this point in the book, we're almost to the end. He is told his entire recollection of his life, the vast majority of that life being building this company. So it's just an interesting perspective to somebody that knows he's going to die since he has terminal cancer, and it comes down to whether he regrets it or not. But before that, I just want to read some interesting parts. These are just little anecdotes, and they're from the beginning of the book. And this is Sam talking. He says, "When folks have asked me, how did Walmart do it? I've usually been flip about answering them. Friend, we just got after it and stayed after it." Another quote. "This is a funny thing to do, this looking back on your life, trying to figure out how all the pieces came together. I guess anybody would find it a little strange, but it's really odd for somebody like me because I've never been a very reflective fellow. Never been one to dwell in the past. If I had to single out one element in my life that has made a difference for me, it would be a passion to compete. That passion has pretty much kept me on the go, looking ahead to the next store visit, or the next store opening, or the next merchandising item I personally wanted to promote out in those stores. As I do look back, though, I realize that ours is a story about the kinds of traditional principles that made America great in the first place. It's a story about entrepreneurship and risk and hard work and knowing where you want to go and being willing to do what it takes to get there. It's a story about believing in your idea even when maybe some other folks don't, and about sticking to your guns. But I think more than anything, it proves there's absolutely no limit to what plain, ordinary working people can accomplish if they're given the opportunity and the encouragement and the incentive to do their best. So maybe by telling it the way it really happened, we can help some other folks down the line take these same principles and apply to their dreams and make them come true."
Nicole, why do you think is the reason why at a young age you have affinity towards self-improvement? A lot of times we have that realization around 20-ish. It's a good question. It's a great question. I'm thinking. I think multiple things. One, the environment I grew up in very much fostered that. My dad taught me how to set goals, taught my brothers and I how to set goals and what it means to improve. And so I know what that's like. On top of that, I was very competitive, played sports, was around friends that we played our own activities all the time. And so I was always wanting to get better in that regard. But when it comes to like this love for mindset improvement and life betterment, I think that's a God thing. I think I was like just given this love for curiosity to learn from others, and it's just my thing. Like other people have their thing. It could be cooking, it can be woodworking. This is just my thing. And I'm glad it is, because it could be a lifelong thing. Non-stop learning. So, yeah, that would be my answer. Great question, Nicole. You ask good questions, and I appreciate that.
That would be, I think, a great description of the reason to catalog the history of entrepreneurship. I want to read that one time. So maybe by telling it the way it really happened, we can help some other folks down the line take these same principles and apply them to their dreams and make them come true. Here's another quote from him. The media usually portrayed me as a really cheap, eccentric recluse.
Wow,
sort of a hillbilly who more...
That is just amazing to me. You're in Hungary right now. You're in Hungary. Have a great night. Live streaming all the way from there. I appreciate you so much for joining. We appreciate you. Have an amazing night. Hope you go to bed inspired. Come on, five more. Wow, Nicole, where are you streaming from? We're at 350, by the way. I got 150 left, so stream is almost done, but we're getting close, guys. We're getting there. Sunday morning, 5:08 a.m. Yeah, would love to know where you are. I gotta think you're somewhere in the, relative to America, you're east. You're somewhere in the eastern Philippines. I knew it. Wow, that is incredible to me too. Think about that. We are hanging out together. Our man from Hungary, Nicole from Philippines. Just tremendous, just tremendous. So cool. The digital world connecting us.
or less slept with his dogs in spite of having billions of dollars stashed away in a cave. Then when the stock market crashed in 1987 and Walmart stock dropped along with everything else in the market, everybody wrote that I'd lost $500 million. When they asked me about it, I said, it's only paper. And they had a good time with that.
Hungarian star.
But now...
I figured that when I said our man, I was like, what if it's a girl? Appreciate you. Appreciate you. What's your name, by the way? I know you don't have to reveal it if you don't want to, but Hungarian star, appreciate you. All the way from Hungary. Appreciate you correcting me, though. Thank you, Nicole. We're very excited. I gotta do more collab streams with Steven. I'll talk to him about that. We have a call tomorrow, Monday. So I'll talk to him about that. Wow, an amazing name. Wow. Korksanski. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Maybe you can spell it out like the way they do in the dictionary when they have a word and then they spell it, like how you would pronounce it. Korksanski. Korksanski Silag. Okay. More push-ups. What? I didn't know Steven has a fitness channel. I gotta talk to him about that. What? Let's go. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Do knuckle push-ups, guys. Knuckles. Let's go, 400. We're getting there.
I'd like to explain some of my attitudes about money up to a point. I think this is really important. No question about it, a lot of my attitude toward money stems from growing up during a pretty hard Scrabble time.
Yeah, I truly didn't know that. So thank you, Nicole, for bringing that to my attention. I gotta talk to him about that. Talk about that. Mike, expand on what you mean. What do you mean? What do you look for in a man? What are you talking about? Would love to answer you, but give me another comment to clarify. Yeah, that would be a good question for... Yeah, exactly, Nicole. Mike, we got to remove those, my brother. Not about that, because there's none of that activity here. Neither am I ever looking for a husband. I'm looking for a wife. But none of that, please. 100 more push-ups, y'all. 100 more, 100 more.
In our country's history, the Great Depression. So before I go ahead with that, what he's talking about is even after he was worth many billions of dollars, he drove like a rusted old pickup truck, and he was obsessed with like quail hunting, and he'd do that with bird dogs. So he needed you'd spot him in Arkansas just in like a truck knocking on people's doors asking if he could hunt their land with a bunch of his dogs, even after he became a multi-billionaire. So he talks about that he grew up in the Depression. And I'm going back in the story before we go to the end. So he's talking about how tight his family was with money, and he started, he goes, this is when he was a kid. I also started selling magazine subscriptions, probably as young as 7 or 8 years old. And I had paper routes from the 7th grade all the way through college. I raised and sold rabbits and pigeons too. Nothing really unusual for country boys of that era. I learned from a very early age that it was important for us kids to help provide for the home and to be contributors rather than just takers. Or in another word, to be producers instead of just consumers in today's society. In the process, of course, we learned how much hard work it took to get your hands on a dollar, and that when you did it, it was worth something. One thing my mother and dad shared completely was their approach to money. They just didn't spend it. Okay, now here's his brother talking about how they grew up. People can't understand why we're still so conservative. They make a big deal about Sam being a billionaire and driving an old pickup truck or buying his clothes.
Yeah, some people just like to act the way they act, but it fulfills them in that way, and that way is negative, and we don't tolerate that stuff. We're only about positive energy, encouragement, betterment. Yeah, none of that stuff. It fulfills them, but not in the way they should be fulfilled, and I hope that person realizes it one day.
At Walmart or refusing to fly first class. It was just the way we were brought up. When a penny is lying out there on the
left
street,
on this phone.
how many people would go out there and pick
Almost
it up?
there. 75
I bet I would, and I know Sam would. This is back to Sam. By the time I got out in the world ready to make something of myself, I already had a strongly ingrained respect for the value of a dollar. But my knowledge about money and finances probably wasn't all that sophisticated in spite of the business degree I had. Then I got to know Helen's family, this is his wife, and listening to her father, L.S. Robson, was an education in and of itself. This is, again, he always learned from everybody around him as much as possible. He influenced me a great deal. He was a great salesman, one of the most persuasive individuals I have ever met. And I'm sure his success as a trader and businessman, his knowledge of finance and the law, and his philosophy had a big effect on me. My competitive nature was such that I saw his success and I admired it. I didn't envy it. I admired it. I said to myself, maybe I will be as successful as he is someday. The Robsons were very smart about the way they handled their finances. Helen's father organized his ranch and family businesses as a partnership, and Helen and her brother were all partners. They all took turns doing the ranch books and things like that. Helen has a BS degree in finance, which back then was really unusual for a woman. Anyway, Mr. Robson advised us to do the same thing
You guys are
with
loyal.
our family, and we did.
You guys are loyal. We got 50 push-ups left, 6% left in my battery. Gorgsansky, 27. I'm 27 years old.
Did way back in 1953.
Let's go.
What little we had at the time, we put into a partnership with our kids, which was later incorporated into Walton Enterprises. This is something he did his whole life. It's very similar to the podcast we did on Joseph P. Kennedy, where his goal was just to make enough money that his kids and grandkids never had to work so they could dedicate their lives to public service. And he accomplished that, if you remember the podcast, by 40. And you haven't listened to that podcast, you should go back, because he was fabulously wealthy. At the time, he had the equivalent of something like $3 billion. But even though the Kennedys, which obviously have vast family wealth to this day, they lived somewhat extravagant lives, he had basically set them up in trust where his kids and their grandkids could never spend the principal. So all the money they're living off of is just the interest. And like I said in that podcast, if you had $10 million and you let that $10 million accrue, I think at 2 or 3% compound interest for 200 years, you have 3.5 trillion. So Joseph Kennedy was not thinking short term at all. He was thinking multi-generations, and he was able to do so. Sam's did something very similar with his kids.
35.
I don't know what the Forbes list is nowadays, but for a while they were like 5 out of the top 10 because of this partnership. And he continues here. The principle behind this is simple. The best way to reduce paying estate taxes is to give your assets away before they appreciate. And then he talks about his personal, his family philosophy. We don't need to buy a yacht. And thank goodness we never thought we had to go out and buy anything like an island. We just don't have those lands or needs or ambitions, which wreck a lot of companies when they get along in years. Some families sell their stock off a little at a time to live high, and then boom, somebody takes them over, and it all goes down the drain.
Yeah.
One of the real reasons I'm writing this book is so my grandchildren and great-grandchildren will read it years from now and know this. If you start any of that foolishness, I'll come back and haunt you, so don't even think about it. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that is.
We're not ashamed of having money, but I just don't believe a big, showy lifestyle is appropriate for anywhere, least of all here in Bentonville, where folks work hard for their money and where we all know that everyone puts on their trousers one leg at a time. I'm not sure I ever really figured out this celebrity business. Why in the world, for example, would I get an invitation to Elizabeth Taylor's wedding out in Hollywood? I still can't believe it was news that I get my hair cut at the barbershop. Where else would I get it cut? Why do I drive a pickup truck? What am I supposed to do? Haul my dogs around in a Rolls Royce? So he's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
But he's also deadly serious about not wasting money. I mean, he talks about it all throughout the book, how if he was as extravagant with his finances as other retail discounters were, they would go out of business. So he applies those same principles to his own life.
Yeah.
This is a quote from Charlie Baum, which is an early Walmart partner.
20 push-ups.
I've known Sam since his first store in Newport, Arkansas, and I believe that money is, in some respects, almost immaterial to him. What motivates the man is the desire to absolutely be on top of the heap. It is not money. Money drives him crazy now. His question to me at 6 a.m. not long ago was, how do you inspire a grandchild to go to work if they know they'll never have a poor day in their life? And now he's going to talk about his philosophy, how these philosophies apply to Walmart. Now, when it comes to Walmart, there's no two ways about it. I'm cheap. I think it's a real statement that Walmart never bought a jet until we were approaching $40 billion in sales and expanded as far away as California and Maine. And even then, they had to practically tie me up and hold me down to do it. On the road, we sleep 2 to a room. Although as I've gotten older, I have finally started staying in my own room. We stay in Holiday Inns and Ramada Inns and Days Inns, and we eat a lot at family restaurants when we have time to eat. A lot of what goes on these days with high-flying companies and these overpaid CEOs who are really just looting from the top aren't watching out for anybody but themselves. It really upsets me. It's one of the main things wrong with American business today. He's saying this.
I completely agree. Stay frugal until you don't need to, and then continue to stay frugal. I learned that the hard way. And I'm only 27, and what a blessing it is to learn that from others close to me, from others online, from others who've had successes all throughout history and failures all throughout history. I've learned it, and I will apply it till I die. You will see. You will see. I'm probably one of the only few that is building their life and their character in public for the decades ahead. Like, I'm the most long-term thinking with this page and with my content. Okay, appreciate you all for joining. It's been 47 minutes, about to be 48 minutes. We did 500 push-ups. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much for the encouragement. Thank you so much for the engagement. We'll see you on the next live stream. Appreciate you. Nicole, have a good morning in the Philippines. And Korosansky, have a good evening. Adios.